Hi, this is John Cowie. I'm TIG's Director of Education Business Development, and I'd like to spend the next few minutes providing an overview and an update of the Schools and Libraries program of the Universal Service Fund, better known as E-Rate. E-Rate was established under the Telecommunications Act of 1996 to provide internet connectivity to schools and libraries. It's a discount program, not a grant program, which really means schools always have to pay a portion of the cost of an approved E-Rate funded project. The funding is not part of the federal budget. It is paid for through our telephone bills. And if you take a look at your bill, you will find a line item on the bill called the Federal Universal Service Charge, and that is the tax collected that pays for E-Rate. College and career readiness is creating significant priorities across K-12, and it's driving new pedagogies, new processes for teaching and learning, classroom redesign, and you can see from this survey of CIOs the top 10 priorities from 2015 in K-12. And it's interesting to note that the top priorities all require robust networks within the schools to be able to achieve the outcomes through those programs. The FCC recognized this, and in 2014, Tom Wheeler, the FCC chairman, announced a mandate and a priority to solve this challenge, the need that more than 60% of the schools have insufficient networks to support these 21st century learning initiatives, and the FCC moved forward to address funding through E-Rate to do just that. So the result was E-Rate 2.0, or E-Rate modernization, that came into effect in the 2014 E-Rate funding year. First and foremost, it's trying to provide more discounts and more dollars to schools. I think over the last 2 or 3 years prior to 2015, most schools started to see that all of the money was going to a few schools that were typically at the 90% discount rate, and that money was going to priority one, external connections, leaving no money at all to address the networks within the school itself. With E-Rate 2.0, the priority system was replaced with two categories. Category 1 is broadband to the school and library, and Category 2 is broadband services within the schools and libraries. Most importantly, $1 billion per year for 5 years was allocated just for Priority 2 internal connections. Now, in order to help fund that incremental $1 billion per year, adjustments were made to Category 1. So voice projects are being defunded at a rate of 20% per year. So at the end of 5 years, starting with year 1, 2015, plain old telephone service, voice over IP will no longer be funded by E-Rate. In 2015, those projects were reduced by 20%. This year, 2016, the funding will be reduced by 40% and so on. They also removed web hosting, email, paging, and voicemail. On the Category 2 side, they created an allocation for school districts based on a 5-year funding cap of $150 per student that would be adjusted by the district's discount rate, which is determined by their participation rate in the National School Lunch Program. For libraries, that allocated funding is $2.30 a square foot, and it's also $5 a square foot for rural libraries. For Category 2 only, the maximum discount rate was reduced from 90% to 85%, and all of the other discount brackets remained unchanged within Category 2. It was also adding managed Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi as a service, and caching servers to qualify under Category 2. They being the FCC and USAC, increased the document retention period from 5 years to 10 years. They no longer require a technology plan to be submitted with the funding request, although we at TIG strongly encourage schools and libraries to go through the planning process and not take this on without a plan. They've also moved and implemented in 2016 all of the forms and requests are filed electronically. The qualified Category 2 funding areas have been simplified. You can see that Wi-Fi, access points, controllers, switches, routers, power, cabling, caching servers and firewalls, and licenses and management and basic maintenance are all eligible items under E-Rate 2.0 Category 2. Of particular note is how the funding played out in the first year of E-Rate 2.0, 2015. Note that almost $1.7 billion was paid out in Category 2. A total of $3.9 billion was approved. Most importantly, 100% of all of the properly submitted 471s were funded in 2015, and there was a carryover of $1.9 billion into this year, making the funding available for 2016 to be $5.4 billion. Now, although we can't promise you that everybody will be funded in 2016, the amount of funding available and the track record from 2015 certainly suggests that all properly filed requests for funding will be approved this year. So based on that, we are certainly encouraging everyone to move forward and take advantage of their 5-year allocation of Category 2 funding. The process for E-Rate starts with the filing of the Form 470, which opens the bidding process. It has to be open for 28 days. At that point, the school or library can make their evaluation and their decision and then file a Form 471 request for funding. Once that's been approved and the project has been completed, forms are filed to secure the payments, and the process will begin again in the following year. From a timeline standpoint, note that the funding year is a July 1 year, so July 1, 2015 was the beginning of the 2016 funding year. Form 470s start July 1, and we normally note that it typically would run through mid-February. This year it's been extended, partly we believe because the number of Form 470s filed first week of January was only about 25% of the number that was filed last year. So it's been extended until April 1. Now that then implies that the 471 window, which is now open, will extend until April 30. So there is still time to go through the process, file your 470, file a request for funding, and start the 5-year process of bringing down and utilizing your 5-year allocation of $150 per student for the district. From a TIG standpoint, we stand prepared and ready to assist you. We have great partnerships with all of the major networking and wireless vendors and OEMs. We have numerous solution architects, engineers, technicians with certifications across all of our 23 branches in the United States. We have been supporting education accounts for over 30 years. We understand the necessary logistics. We have the relationships with cabling companies. We have the project managers. We can ensure a very successful project with you and for you. And we're also offering wireless as a service, which is now eligible within E-Rate. And we do that in 2 manners. One would be a hybrid model, which in a traditional way you would go ahead and procure the hardware under the normal E-Rate process and then contract with TIG to manage that implementation after the fact, or a pure wireless as a service offering where it becomes a full operating expense for all the cabling, labor, the products, the post-implementation management. And in that mode, the $150 per student 5-year funding allocation becomes a $30 per year per student funding allocation for wireless as a service over those 5 years. In terms of action, the most important action you can take is to put plans in place to file your 470 before the April 1 deadline so that you can take advantage of funding in 2016. USAC has excellent resources, and we're providing several of the links here. I would highlight that it is important that you go to the E-Rate Productivity Center, secure a login. All forms have to be submitted electronically, and it's done through your login and through the Productivity Center. Their advice and console on steps for applicants, keeping you updated through news briefs, all of that information is really quite excellent. In the process of doing that, again, we would emphasize that although not required, having that technology plan really is necessary to secure your success. And although the timing is getting shorter, by going through that planning process, you have the opportunity to reevaluate and make sure your priorities are in line with your overall district strategic teaching and learning plan. Some additional resources include TIG SPIN number. Funds for Learning is an E-Rate consulting organization, excellent organization. Their website has a host of good information. You'll see them on webinars quite frequently, and we certainly recommend that you take advantage of their resources. We also believe that EdWeb provides a robust offering of E-Rate funding resources, no cost to join their significant interest group and have access to a whole series of webinars going back into 2015, and be invited to their current webinars, which we have found over time to be quite useful. So we appreciate you taking a few minutes with us for this E-Rate 2.0 update. If you need additional information, please reach out to me directly, either by phone or by email, Twitter or LinkedIn, and be happy to answer your questions and get you connected into your TIG account executive and engineers so that we can successfully partner with you and help you get that network infrastructure in place and move forward with your teaching and learning initiatives. Thank you very much.